James Lynch here for Fanatics View, and I'm happy to be joined by Stanley Cup champion and NHL goaltending legend, Ed the Eagle Belfour. Ed, how are you today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, James.
Hey, Ed, it is great to talk to you. And before we get into everything, I wanted to talk about why we got you here. Obviously, your mask from the Dallas Stars is going to be auctioned off with Quebec Classic Auctions. How did you get involved with them, and how excited are you to see this mask go up for auction?
Yeah, I met Mark Chateau back in, I think it was 2017-ish. And, I heard a lot about Mark's Classic Auctions and, how well he represents the NHL guys. And, he's real honest. And, that's for me very important that he's an honest business partner. And he's done a great job for me over that time period up until now. And next steps here, selling the Dallas Stars Stanley Cup mask, I'm very excited about.
Yeah, and it's a pretty unique mask. You don't really see, like, the eagle on the side. If people haven't seen it, you can go check it out. But I imagine you feel like this is going to be a hot ticket item just because it is very unique, the design and the way it was put together.
Yeah, I was real fortunate to have some really good mask makers over the years, and the eagle turned out fantastic. The letters EAGLE are, they're designed into the feathers, and it's just a beautiful representation of the eagle, and always had great luck with it, obviously, and it helped bring that awareness to Ed Belfour and to my brand, and I believe it helped me win the Stanley Cup. So that mask is very dear to my heart.
And for people who might not know, I know a little bit about the backstory, but how did you get the eagle nickname?
So it was back when I was a rookie in Chicago, and Greg Harrison was the main mask maker back then out of Toronto, Canada. And I asked him, I said, "Hey, Greg, I want two mean looking birds on the side of my mask," and he chose the eagles, and they looked really amazing right from the beginning. And then my coach at the time, Mike Keenan, gave me the nickname Eddie the Eagle, so that's how it stuck.
Yeah, and it's been sort of a brand with you throughout your career, which is really awesome. Do you remember any other masks when you were playing, like any designs that you liked? Obviously, I talked about it there off the top. You had a pretty unique looking mask. I know Curtis Joseph had a pretty cool mask with the Cujo. Is there any other masks when you were playing that you enjoyed seeing on other goaltenders?
Well, my favorite goalie was Tony Esposito, so I always loved Tony's mask. And the Blackhawks were my favorite team as a little kid, and what a dream come true for me to sign with the Blackhawks in '87 and meet my hero Tony Esposito. And he was just amazing when I first met him, and he gave me one of his Northland goalie sticks, and something I'll never forget.
That's awesome. You referenced obviously winning the Stanley Cup with Dallas and the mask being auctioned off. When you arrived in Dallas, coming over, obviously you had Chicago, and then you had a cup of coffee in San Jose, and then over to Dallas. Did you know at the time this was a team that was going to win the Stanley Cup?
Well, you could see what Bob Gainey was doing, back in with the Minnesota North Stars. He's starting to put a Stanley Cup team together, and with that Montreal culture, he's bringing in Montreal Canadian guys. Guy Carbonneau was one of the main guys that he brought in, and Mike Keane, of course, and Scrudelin, and those type of guys. They have that culture ingrained in them. We played tough defense. He had Rick Wilson and Doug Jarvis, come in there assistant coaches, and brought in Ken Hitchcock to be the head coach. You could tell that he was, building a Stanley Cup team, and timing couldn't have been better. I became a free agent that July 1st in '97, and they were our number one pick. And Ron Seltzer, my agent, and I gave him a call and see if they were interested, and the timing was perfect, and I became a Dallas Star.
Yeah, and it obviously worked out very well for you. And you obviously had a great career as well, even after that with Toronto and so many other teams that you were involved with. Do you still keep in touch with anyone from that Dallas team when you guys won the Cup? How often do you guys, keep in touch?
Oh yeah, that group was very close. We get together here in Dallas for Hall of Fame events, and then guys getting their jerseys retired up in the rafters, and it's always just a great pleasure to be part of the group and see the guys, and we just pick up right where we left off back in the days. And every June 20th, I'll always send Brett Hall a nice note, either a text, or I'll call him. I'll say, "Hey, Holly, thanks for the cup."
Nice. That's not bad. I'm sure he appreciates that a lot, which is great.
For sure.
So that's good. We were sort of talking a bit off air. How much hockey do you watch today? I know it's hard to keep up with the different games and different platforms.
I try to go to 4 or 5 games in Dallas, Texas. I try to get to a couple games, see the Leafs play. And then, of course, I watch most of the playoffs. That's my favorite time of the year. The game just, takes a whole new level. The first round obviously is always just so exciting. You just never know what's going to happen. And it just seems like the game, kind of goes back to the old style game where it's, a lot rougher and tougher, and the refs, kind of let the guys play. And I love that old style game. And then you see, in my opinion, the real game. And I love watching the playoffs.
Yeah, we had, I think, one of the best playoffs we've had in a while last season with so many different things happening. How impressed are you by the Dallas Stars and them continuing to be a contender? They didn't have to go through the rebuild. It seems like, even since, your days when you were playing for them, that they've always been a fairly competitive team. Just how impressive is that to be an alumni of a team that's still, making it happen in 2024?
Yeah, well, they've done a great job there. Jim Nill, coming from Detroit, you know, learned a lot, I'm sure, there, and he was an aggressive player himself, and learned a lot about how to win a Stanley Cup, and he's done a great job here in Dallas. The whole organization, that's what it's about, is putting together a Stanley Cup team every year. The other thing that Dallas Stars club has done very well is the relationship with the community. They've done an amazing job of reaching out, building the Dr. Pepper Star Centers, getting the local kids involved, and the fans support here is second to none. Just an amazing city to have a team in. And who would have thought that in the beginning. I'm sure everybody's a little worried about bringing an NHL team to Dallas, but it's been amazing. The fans have been amazing, and I sure hope that they get another cup here soon.
And part of the reason of that success is the goaltending. Jake Ottinger has been outstanding. What do you make of his play, and just as a fellow goaltender yourself?
Yeah, I love watching Jake because he's got a bit of that old style goaltending to his game. He's not one of those cookie cutter goalies who just, he's a big goalie, and a lot of those big goalies sometimes they just go down, even before the shot's taken, and play the angles. I feel like a lot of the goalie coaches have really changed that position to be a cookie cutter, just not really read the plays and react to the plays, and think the game. I see Jake thinking the game, and he can play out, he can play back, he stands up, makes saves, and that's what I like to see, is a goalie that can compete and adapt to the game.
Do you have any other favorite players on the Stars that you enjoy watching? They're obviously a very young team, but a team that has really come into their own.
Well, I've always loved Jamie Benn. He's a great captain, great leader. He plays both ends of the ice. He plays hard. He'll do whatever it takes to win. So he's my favorite player for sure.
And you've obviously won an Olympic gold medal. You've been involved in international play. One of the things you and I were talking about before we hopped on here is the Four Nations that's going on right now: Finland, Sweden, Canada, and the United States. Back when you were playing, Ed, you guys had to fight to pick who was going to be the starter because there were so many talented goaltenders in Canada. Now this year, not so much. It's been a little bit dry in terms of goaltending talent. Why do you think that is? Why do you think back in your day there were so many prominent goaltenders from Canada and now not so much?
Well, if you look at today's game, there's so many goalies coming from other countries now, and a lot of different styles of play. And I had the opportunity to play in Sweden at the end of my career. They play on the big ice surface. The game is a lot more offensive, wide open, a lot more high-end scoring chances. So it doesn't surprise me that there's been some really good Swedish goalies over the years, and especially today. Same thing, with the other, you got the Russian league, and you got the Czech league, the Finns. You got a lot of really good European goalies that now are being watched a lot more. Back when I was a rookie in 86, 87, or sorry, 87, 88, there weren't a lot of European goalies back then, and they weren't scouted as much. The main goalies were probably scouted out of the Canadian junior hockey leagues, and even tier two goalies were scouted. Like myself and Curtis Joseph, and then went on to play some college hockey. And for me, playing for the Fighting Sioux in NCAA, we were 40 wins, 8 losses, and they call their team the Dream Team. To this day, I don't think anybody's beat that record. And I was a free agent, so I had an opportunity, to pick from about 6 or 7 teams at that time. There was a lot more free agency back then. Now you have the USHL, so you got a lot more American goalies, doing really well also. So it's just really been good to see that there's a lot more goalies to choose from. But that would be my thought, is there's just a lot more goalies. And
Yeah.
so I think a lot of Canadian goalies still might get overlooked. And probably the goalies that are in my height range, that are 5'11", 6 feet tall, because they're not 6'3" to 6'7". That's kind of what scouts are kind of looking for nowadays. It seems like over the last 10 years it's been that way. I don't agree with that. I think there's some great goalies that have probably been overlooked in Canada.
Yeah. And I think too, like what you spoke to, I think the programs have caught up, right? Like you're seeing the US program. I mean, the US, we mentioned Jake Ottinger, you've got Connor Hellebuck. You've got so many different options between the pipes. With Canada, though, it's going to be a little bit tougher. Is there anyone, I don't know if you follow any of the Canadian goaltenders. There's like, Aiden Hill out of Las Vegas. There's Logan Thompson out of Washington. There's, who else? There's a whole list. Jordan Binnington, obviously St. Louis. And then you've got Marc-Andre Fleury, who obviously has his accolades, but he's in his 40s right now. Is any of those names you think kind of pop out if Canada was going to choose their starter?
Well, I would definitely go with guys who have won the cup. So Binnington and Andre, Fleury
Yeah.
is. I mean, you got to have those type of players on a team, and then go with the best 2 younger guys. Have 4 guys around, and let them, have a chance to see who's hot. Whoever's hot, that's who you got to go with.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Switching gears, and we're gonna end things here. What are you up to these days, Ed? For people who might not know, what's keeping you busy?
Yeah, so I started a bourbon and rye whiskey company about 10 years ago. So I stay really busy, selling and producing Belfour spirits. And
Okay, great. And where's this out of?
so we are just in the U.S. right now, but we're trying to come to Canada. It's not that easy to come across the
No.
border. We were almost there, and then COVID hit, so it set us back quite a bit. I actually have a meeting today with LCBO, and hopefully we can get things going there in Canada. Love to bring Belfour Spirits to Canada.
Was there any thought of going with like the Eagle as the name, or just stick with the last name? People know that enough.
Yeah, just the last name, Belfour, and there is an eagle decal on the neck label and on the cork. So I
There we
definitely
go.
kept the eagle involved.
Ed, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate the time. If there's anything you'd like to mention, you mentioned your drink. If there's anything else you're involved with that you want to mention before we exit the interview, the floor is yours, sir.
Well, I'd just like to say congratulations to Jeremy Roenick for being inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. That was awesome to see. And he was one of my favorite teammates, so I'm so happy and proud for him.